Hello, it's Little Miss Loquacious, and in case you didn't know, loquacious means talkative, which is very fitting for me because I love to chat, yap, gab, and of course, above all else, talk. Now, you might be looking at the screen and wondering, oh, what a lovely thing that's happening. Is that a pair of pants being made? And you would be right, but this is not a sewing tutorial for two reasons. One, I want to talk about something else. And two, I actually didn't end up finishing these pants because I made them too small. But either way, this was not going to be a sewing tutorial because I don't feel qualified, and instead I am using my computer as my captive audience and this as my own more fun personal form of Toastmasters. So instead, I decided to take you through some of my favorite icebreaker questions, and of course, to break the ice, I'll answer them first myself. Okay, now first, I would consider myself to be somewhat of an icebreaker connoisseur. And that's probably not surprising given my self proclaimed title as loquacious, but I think I've got some really good icebreakers. And one of my all time favorites is this: if you could dispense five liquids in unlimited supply, one from each of your five fingers on your hand, which five liquids would you choose? And I would say number one, water. I've asked this to people and they don't agree with my choice of water, but whatever. It's basic, but it's a classic. Two, Shirley Temples, another classic. I'm having dinner, I'm drinking a Shirley Temple. I'm doing literally anything, I'm having a Shirley Temple. That's going on the list. Next is miso soup. Imagine a nice cold day and all you want is a little sip of miso soup. And there you can have it, right there dispensing from your finger. I'm 100% choosing miso soup. Next, I've got to choose a London Fog. Now, I tend to drink London Fogs iced more often, but I'm going to go with hot because I could always put it over ice, even if I can't dispense ice from my fingers. So I'm going with a hot London Fog. Not too sweet, but with a nice hint of vanilla. Also, side note, if you couldn't tell what I'm doing here, I'm essentially trying to give myself a seam allowance of about half an inch, and I'm tracing all around an existing pair of pants that I have, which clearly did not work for me because the pants ended up being way too small, but whatever. Anyways, my last one would be matcha, I think, because I've tried making matcha myself before, but I can never just get it right, so I feel like I'd just rather have it dispensed from my finger. But yeah, those would be mine. I've heard some really smart answers, like people would put gas so that it's cheaper to fill up their car, or liquid gold and stuff like that. But I just feel like I love a good beverage. I love having a little three trio of beverages when I study or when I do anything really. So I think I just have to have all of mine be fun little drinks. Okay, this next one is also, ooh, it's a good one. Okay, so if you've ever bought a doll or an action figure or anything like that, you know that oftentimes in separate boxes you can buy some more outfits for them, little accessories, that kind of stuff. But typically in the box that actually sells the doll or the action figure or whatever it is itself, there will be one or two kind of like quote unquote signature items that are like the key things that will come with the doll itself. You know, those are thought to be like the two most essential things. So the question is, if you were made into a doll or an action figure, which two signature items would come in the box with your doll? And for me, my answer would be number one, a DVD of the 2005 Pride and Prejudice movie. I don't even know where I'd play the DVD. Put it on a USB. I don't know. Something so that I can have a copy of the 2005 Pride and Prejudice movie. Don't even. It's my favorite movie of all time. I've seen it so many times. If you haven't seen it, then I guess you just won't understand. But if you have seen it, then you'll know what I'm talking about. Such a good movie. 10 out of 10. Could not recommend more. Ugh. And then the second one would be I really like making baked goods. I also like to cook, but I'd say for much longer than I'd like to cook, I'd like to bake. So I would have to go with a cute little stand mixer, maybe one in like a cute little pastel blue or something like that. Just, I feel like I'd always want to have that with me because I have to be able to whip up a little sweet treat whenever I want. Okay, also, silly story, but when I was in my last year of high school, one of the English classes, not my English class, but one of the English teachers used to always ask like a question of the day at the end of class, and all the students would answer it. So one day the question was, what is your favorite invention or your favorite modern invention? And one of my really good friends answered first because she was like, I know what my answer is. And she said those fish-shaped jugs of water where when you like pour out the water, the jug gurgles. So it sounds like, I don't know, I guess like a fish gurgling in water. And she was like, yeah, I would choose the glug jug. That is my number one favorite invention. And then everyone went after her and chose like the wheel, modern medicine, like electricity. And here she was sitting just having said the glug jug. And so, but you know what? I stand by her decision. Glug jug was an excellent invention. Okay, anyways, next question is also a good one because I love me a good potato. I mean, don't we all love a good potato? Classic, just us all having our potatoes. I don't even know. Anyways, the next question is if you could only eat potatoes in one form, which form would you choose? And I have actually thought about this one a lot. Lots of people say fries, which I do really understand because I feel like there's not a good substitute for fries. People sometimes say chips, but I'm kind of like, there's corn chips. I feel like you can kind of substitute a potato chip for some kind of equivalent, So I wouldn't go with chips. And I feel like if I liked fries more, I would say fries. But I don't think I can choose that one as my number one. Some people will choose some fun ones like Hasselback potatoes. That's not really my thing, or like a loaded potato. My answer would be a smashed potato. And in case anyone doesn't know what a smashed potato is, it's like you boil a potato and then you, like, once you boil it, you kind of stomp it down so it's more of a puck, and then you put that in the oven or wherever so it gets all crispy on the outside. So it's a good mix of soft on the inside, crispy on the outside. Oh, that would be mine. Or my answer for a long time, which I still support, is tater tots. And I know you might think, why would you choose tater tots over fries or hash browns? But I'm just not going to explain it. If you understand, you understand. Okay, I also realized that last question was food themed, and the next two and last questions that I can think of off the top of my head are also food themed. But you know what? I just love talking about food. So the next one is, what would you build on your dream pizza? And I actually think about this a lot because my family used to go to a restaurant that sometimes would have build your own pizza nights. And also, if you can tell in this video, I'm now cutting out the fabric, which clearly I cut it too small, but whatever. So it used to have build your own pizza nights, and I loved my pizza order. So this is what I would do. I'm doing a classic like pizza sauce with mozzarella, classic. Then I'm putting on some bacon. And if we're feeling crazy, maybe even a little bit of spicy sausage. But actually, no, non-spicy sausage, and you'll see why. From there, I'm going with a little bit of spinach, because I love me some spinach. I'm going with a little bit of feta. Yep, feta. So I'm going mozzarella and feta. I just can't get enough, so I'm getting it all. And then the last thing I'm topping it with is some hot honey. Now you might be thinking, that's like a pretty plain pizza, but you know what? I keep it simple. So that's what I would put on my dream pizza. Okay, so I'm sure that I have many more icebreakers deep in my subconscious, but the last big one that I'm thinking of right now is, what would you build to make your ideal ice cream sandwich? So what would you choose for your cookies, and what would you choose for the ice cream on the inside? Now, when I've asked this before, sometimes people will choose fun things and they'll choose 2 different types of cookies, or they'll have many ice cream flavors on the inside and stuff like that. I keep it a little bit more simple. I go for a chocolate chip cookie on either side, but it has to be the one that I make with the toffee on the inside. Homemade toffee, even though every time I make toffee, it takes me 2 tries, but that's a story for another day. With homemade toffee and chocolate chips, and what I like to do is I don't just do one type of chocolate chip. I do a mix of milk chocolate chips, semi-sweet chocolate chips, and dark chocolate chunks, just to really get some levels. And I top it with some flaky sea salt. So that's my cookies, and then on the inside, gotta go with a classic half-baked. But that's my last big question. Okay, so that's that really. If there's anyone listening, which I'm assuming right now on this little corner of the internet, it's population 1 over here. Like I said, this is honestly just my own little version of Toastmasters, my way to really share my thoughts into the abyss. But if anyone's listening, then I hope that you get some use out of these icebreaker questions, perhaps. And otherwise, if no one's watching, then I will see myself maybe next time.